was filed in the Summit County Common Pleas Court asking why the city has not paid Mr. Smith. There are no further grounds for appeal. The Supreme Court will not hear this case. So my question, and again, I'll ask Mr. Morrison if you'd like me to when he decides to arrive. When will the city pay Dave Smith? He worked for this city for 30 years. I knew Dave Smith. A lot of these people knew Dave Smith. He is an upstanding man. He acted as chief in a capacity during a time when we needed a chief. He is an upstanding citizen, and he deserves better than this council has seen fit to give him. And better than Mr. Morrison has seen fit to give him. That is all.
Thank you. Next person, Kathleen McCormick.
Supreme Court over $9,000.
I'm Kathleen McCoy, I live at 220 South River Road.
Could you
Yeah.
put it on? Just a little bit. Thank you. Very good. Thanks.
Better?
Perfect.
Okay. I think that there are a lot of people here with the same concern that Mr. Stahl indicated. My personal concern is that this city administration is not conducting itself in a professional manner. And because the taxpayers of this city basically employ every one of you, you do answer to us, and I expect you to answer to me. I would like to know, Mayor Larson, can you please define philosophical differences?
This is your time to make your statement. It's not a question and answer period.
So you're pleased to
If
answer the
you
question?
would like to contact me during the day, I'll discuss philosophical differences with you. I'm sure that we have a lot of them between the two of us.
Well, I have absolutely no doubt. However, you have been asked repeatedly and have refused to answer, and that wasn't just in the context of this room. So my guess is if I do contact you personally, you will still refuse to answer that question. Was Chief Myers' job performance unsatisfactory in some way? Mayor Larson?
This is your time to make your
Oh,
statement.
my God.
It's not a question and answer period. We do not discuss personnel matters in
Okay.
open meetings.
Are you going to refuse to answer every question that I have? I'm just
Are you
asking.
making a statement or are you asking questions?
I think every question that I have is making a statement. So, for the record, I will state my concerns here. I want to know, and I believe everybody here wants to know, whether or not Chief Myers' job performance was unsatisfactory in some manner. I understand that you are refusing to answer that question. I also would like to ask each member of council, Mr. Toth, Mr. Busick, Mr. Stahl, Mr. Iona, Mr. Hagenauer, Mr. Barnes, and Mr. Pitts, if any of you had any discussion with the mayor prior to the beginning of the last council meeting on the subject of the termination of Chief Myers. Again, I understand that apparently this is not a question and answer session, and no one will answer my question.
I would state I did not.
Thank you.
Nor did I. I'll answer it also. I did.
Nor did I.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Just for the record, Mr. Busick, that question is not asking anything specific about a personnel issue. It is just asking about your communication with the mayor, and that is all I'm asking. But on that topic, again, another concern of mine, Mr. Busick, I am concerned with the amount of time that you had been a member of council prior to casting your vote for the termination of Chief Myers. Again, I'm going to assume that you're not going to answer because you basically are refusing to do so and have refused to do so for Mr. Stahl.
Please turn off the cell phones, guys. Thank you.
Ma'am, I would be happy to state that I was a member of council through December 31st of 2013 and therefore was well conformed with the issues facing the city through the year 2013.
So you had some type of knowledge of employment issues or personnel issues, job performance issues with Chief Myers prior to his termination?
That is correct.
Okay. And just looking back, I wonder if any of you, if you had been put in Chief Myers' position, if you would have liked to have been treated the same way. The man served the city. He did a fine job, because nobody here will indicate to me that he did anything less than a fine job. I believe his termination was unjust. Chief Posa, I wish you the best. This is not personal. This is a really sad statement of our administration, based on the fact that we have had the number of chiefs that we have had under Mayor Larson. Again, wish you the absolute best, and I will keep your resume updated.
Okay, Deborah Berkey, please.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Berkey. I live at 175 River Park Boulevard here in Munroe Falls. As a resident of Munroe Falls, I'm here this evening to express my concerns and reaction to the recent actions taken by this council and Mayor Larson. Mayor Larson, I have to admit, I'm a little bit embarrassed right now because I did vote for you. Now I really regret that, and I wish I hadn't, and I'm very disappointed with some of the decisions that you're making and the direction you're leading our city. I would like to say that you and I definitely have some philosophical differences, no doubt about that. I like to do the right thing. I like to treat people as I want to be treated. I want to help people and encourage them to improve and do better, which is why I'm here. I'm not a public speaker, so for me to do this, I'm pretty passionate about it. You've made it clear to the residents that you no longer wish to be mayor of Munroe Falls. You were elected in 2011, and in less than a year, you were running for a county fiscal officer. Although, Mr. Iona informed me that you really didn't want that position, that you were simply running as a favor to someone in the Republican Party. And you lost that election. 2012, you ran for clerk of courts for Stone Union Courts, and you lost. So here we are, you're still mayor of Munroe Falls, and you still have a job to do. I hope you haven't forgotten that it's a privilege to be a mayor. Also, just a reminder that this is a democracy, not a dictatorship. Lately, you've created so much conflict in our beautiful little city. It appears that you are of the understanding that you know more than the educated, qualified, trained, and professional department heads that you selected. You selected Rick Myers to be the chief 2 years ago. You made that decision. And every time our paths crossed, you and I have met you several times. Every time, over those last 2 years, you have had nothing but positive, glowing comments to make about Rick Myers and how pleased you were with the job he was doing. You mentioned to me that you were thrilled that he streamlined the necessary training for officers, and you were so pleased that he was able to hire a K-9 officer and his certified K-9 partner at no cost to the city. That's amazing. That's quite an achievement. The cost of a K-9 and an officer to go through the training is approximately $10,000 to $15,000. So that is a huge asset for our city. We need to take advantage of that, and we have Rick Myers to thank for that. With your decision to dismiss Rick Myers, it appears you're simply returning a political favor. I don't know if that's true, but that's the appearance. It's wrong. Rick is a man of integrity, and I've asked before, and I'll ask again, rhetorical question. I know you're not going to answer, that's okay. What is the reason for his dismissal? Last week, I wrote an email letter to Mayor Larson, and I sent a letter to each of the council people. Some of you responded, and I thank you. Mayor Larson did not respond, but I do know that you've been busy, and I look forward to a response in the very near future. Mr. Iona and I had a lengthy phone conversation, and dirty laundry in public when I asked specifically why Rick Myers was dismissed. He did give me several reasons, stating that though he thought the mayor had worked with Rick for 2 years and was just not seeing the necessary improvements. I'm curious though, none of this was noted in the personnel file. I made a public records request and obtained the file. There are no documents in that file indicating any problems at all. No progressive discipline, there's nothing. Mr. Iona noted in our conversation that first, one reason Rick forgot to arrange for a police cruiser to be in the Stowe 4th of July parade. Seriously. I've been to many 4th of July parades. I've lived in this area for many years. I honestly don't ever remember seeing a police cruiser from anywhere other than Stowe, and it's usually the lead car. It's fire trucks that are in that parade. Everybody wants to see fire trucks, not police cars, unless it's a special dare car or something. So I just think that's ridiculous. Second, Mr. Iona stated that Rick didn't know there was a registered sex offender living in his neighborhood, in Iona's neighborhood.
I'm going to correct you on that. I did not say he did not know. That's not true.
I apologize.
And I didn't say he was fired because of a police car in parade. That was,
This is my time.
well, I got to
My
correct
time. I apologize if I misinterpreted something you said. This is how I heard it. This is my interpretation, just like everybody has their interpretation.
That's fine. Go ahead.
The sex offender. Okay, he might have known that I lived there. Mr. Iona wanted him to do something about it. Keep his eye on it, do something. Well, I'm sorry, not that I knew the guy lived there because I followed the website. He was registered through the county as he's supposed to. People make mistakes, people screw up. He has to live someplace too. The more important thing is that we know where he lives. But they can't harass him. The police can't harass somebody just because he has a past. So I'm not sure why that was even an issue. The third thing that I made note of was that at some point in time, a council person asked Rick Myers, where are we on the heroin crisis? I'm not sure how he would be expected to respond to that. It's public knowledge that there's a heroin crisis in our state. That's kind of just a question, and apparently there was disappointment that he had no plan of action. Fourth, Mr. Iona stated that the rumor was that Rick was going to go back to Stowe Police Department as a captain if their levy passed. Mr. Iona, you had your facts very wrong about the Stowe Police levy. And if you had done your homework, you would realize there was no way that Myers could do that. He could not be rehired at Stowe that easily. Stowe Police Department operates under civil service. They can't just hire who they want when they want. That would not happen. Last thing on my conversation with you, Mr. Iona, you mentioned that Rick didn't seem concerned about cars parking on lawns, and you asked him, or someone asked him to do something about that. I'm not sure that that is a police matter. It seems to me that would fall under zoning, and the zoning officer should handle things like that. That's not really a crime. It's a violation of an ordinance, but that would be the zoning department. I think. I could be wrong. Mr. Iona, you did make one other comment that bothered me terribly. You stated that Rick would be just fine. He's a good guy. You have nothing against him personally, which I don't think anybody does. It's not a personal thing. It's political. You said that he would be picked up by someone else. Well, we're not playing a game here. This is a man's career. This is a reputation. And it's not easy to be hired as a chief of police in most cities. And openings at that level don't happen every day. So he may not be picked up somewhere. Also, you mentioned the meth house on North River Road, and that you were disappointed that there was no tape put up around it as a crime scene, as a place to stay away from. Well, I don't know if that should have been done or not. I live right where I can see that house from my driveway very easily. Rick Myers came through our neighborhood one day, saw me, and he mentioned to me, told me what was going on, even though we all knew. But he said, I just want to let you know there's not to be anyone in that house. If you happen to see someone in that house, I would like to ask you to do a favor. Call the police department. If it looks like somebody's living there, call. If you see children there, most definitely call. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to ask for neighbors to watch and explain what's going on, but he did. I was told recently that the police records clerk resigned suddenly, and Sergeant Smith retired a couple weeks ago suddenly. So now we're down to 4 full-time police officers. That's not very many for our city to cover 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I know we have part-timers. When I asked Mr. Allen about replacing Sergeant Smith, he indicated the council doesn't want to increase taxes for residents, which I appreciate. We all do. Although you did admit that we do need more officers, so I'm glad that you see that. As I stated to Mr. Iona, Sergeant Smith would just be a replacement, though. He would not be a new hire. Certainly his salary is already included in the 2014 budget, so I do hope the plan is to get him replaced and then promote one of our 4 officers to sergeant and then hire someone as an officer. In my opinion, any of these reasons that I have highlighted are no reason to dismiss Rick Myers. Mayor Larson, I don't know what your education is, but I don't believe that you're trained and certified in police work, and I don't understand why you think you know what's best for the police department. And I question the legality of you ordering the chief to make specific assignments within the department. I believe there are state laws forbidding that action. Why not let the highly educated, state certified, and trained professional that you hired run this department? Council members, I'd like to remind you that you were elected to represent the residents of Munroe Falls, all of us, all of you. You are to be the voice of the residents. You speak for the residents through your actions, and by the way, you vote on issues, such as the one you voted on last week. I will echo what was already said. I don't know how, when something comes up, that you can that quickly make a decision that you did. When there's no paper trail, there's no signs. Mr. Busick, you said you knew there were problems. Doesn't sound like many other people knew. If you're not listening to us, I'd like to know why. It's not about your personal agenda. You're supposed to listen and sometimes do what the majority of your people are asking, maybe not what you really want to for you. We don't call you to hear excuses. We don't call on you to be told things that are not accurate. And we don't call you to be misled. It's time to set aside your personal agendas. And it's time that you work together successfully in order to make our city successful and a great place to live and do business. The mayor can't fire you. So you don't have to agree with him and put back everything that he proposes. I think you guys are safe. And all about you. From time to time. Munroe Falls is a nonpartisan city, so how about we set aside the party plan and just do what's right for our city? Do what the residents are asking you to do, not necessarily what the mayor is asking you to do. I can't believe that before we voted to dismiss Chief Myers with very little discussion and little, if any, question at all in the matter of about 10 or 15 minutes last week. I don't understand the rush to make such a major decision. I can only believe this matter was discussed among some of you ahead of time and well planned. And I'm sure the mayor knew he had the support he needed from the 4 of you, which then when I forgot about the article in the paper, maybe I didn't read the last one I was supposed, but apparently that was true if the paper got it right. I don't know what I expect to come out of this meeting other than Mayor Larson. I would like you to publicly state why Rick Myers was dismissed and ultimately clear his name and his reputation. Council representatives, I would like to remind you why you are here to represent the residents of Munroe Falls. Please listen to us. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Okay, Cheryl Barswell.
Or don't.
Barzell, sorry.
Val. I live at 437 Patton Circle. I hear, continue, oh, by the way, thank you so much for allowing me to speak, and good evening. I've heard often that, this is nonpartisan, so in full disclosure, I'm going to tell you the past 35 years of my life, I have been an actively involved Republican, and I am proud of it. I'm not here to bring in partisan into this. I'm not here to sit here and cry and scream and yell, and I'm not going to continually ask questions that are not going to be answered because it's just aggravating. I'm not here to grandstand. What I am here to say is a couple of years ago, I sat in my garage in the summertime in 90-degree heat, and I argued with this little itsy-bitsy lady of a candidate that was running for mayor. She came in to my house, into my garage, and argued with me for an hour why she would make a better mayor and why she was going to do this. And I said, excuse me, lady, I like my city. I like my departments. I like my chief. I like my mayor. I was a reserve, for a short time, police officer. My health did not allow me to continue, as my health stopped me from continuing my 17 years in the Marine Corps. I am a KSU graduate, and I will tell you something right now. Rick Myers is a good man, and we loved our chief, as you could probably tell. That's one thing you are inheriting. You are inheriting a city that loves their city. We get involved, and we will be involved. And if you show us proud, we will back you up, if we haven't shown you already. You have sorely disappointed me. I cannot tell you you broke my heart. You broke my heart too, neighbor. How could you do this? This man that I watch come through there each and every day. Hey, Michelle, what's going on? How you doing? How's our kidney stone? You okay? How could you not pay Dave Smith, who would come past me because I live in the house that he was raised in, and he just thought that was his beans. How you doing? These are good people. And he got thrown out on his chin. Ow. We don't do that. That's not what we're about. I don't understand. I wish to. You're my neighbor, so we might be talking here. You've got a long time been looking at my face, and you know I'm not quiet when I got a problem. Speaking of being quiet and having a problem, somebody mentioned something on Facebook. I made a comment on Facebook. Pow! I, who was okay to be on the reserve PD, cleared security-wise, I am now blocked from the crime watch. Okay. Seriously, guys? Honestly? Come on. Are we in the 7th grade? Is this kindergarten? I was on reserve PD. The man laughed at me, Rick Myers laughed at me because he made me list every address I was at since I was 18 years old. I was in the Marine Corps for 17 years. I had to add an extra page and tape it onto the back. So I got cleared that far to do all of this, and now because I make a comment, I get tossed. I don't know what this has turned into. I don't understand what it's turned into, but this is my city. I voted, I am here, I am not going anywhere. I will back you just as hard as I will back Rick Myers if you do the same job that he did. And he did a good job. He tried his hardest. He was involved. There may have been philosophical differences, and I don't get it. I really don't, but okay. If that's what you feel, that's fine. But the way this happened and the way this went about, you know it's wrong. Because you're not answering the questions, because if you could answer the questions, it'd be right. Now, the one thing that I would ask is that Rick Myers really set one thing in motion here, and the one thing that he set in motion was the most beautiful thing around, and that was the fact that the community was involved. The police department ultimately broke open, and the sun shone out, and we washed cars forever. We washed cars we sat out there, I sat out there till my feet were blistered for Badger. I made signs for Badger that were being used a day afterward, or the year afterwards, and the year afterwards, so we could pay for Badger. You made us as a community be involved with this man, and now you are shocked when we come up here and are wondering what happened to our chief. You nurtured this relationship with the chief, and then you wonder why people are coming in here and we're upset. It's because we love the man. Because the man sat there and got sudsy, sunburned, and sweat next to me while cleaning somebody's wheels. And collecting donations of sometimes $10, sometimes $2. Well, he sat there with us the entire time. I am very, very disappointed. This may be partisan, and if it is, I am sorely disappointed with my party. Rick Myers right now is probably sitting on his couch wondering what he's going to do because he was building an apartment that he was going to stay in. And now, what is he doing? And that's what breaks my heart because we had such a connection with him and everybody's looking at us so shocked. I can't believe you're up here asking these questions. We're not going to answer. They're a personal nature. Well, what do you think that we think about him? He was personal to us. This is the safety of our city that you're speaking of. This is the safety of our community. One thing I will tell you, as being a former Marine, this is a paramilitary organization. And anytime you switch the leadership of a military organization continually, you have an instability. We have changed chief of police how many times? Since I've been here? Many. Bellinger was here when I got here. I know, I live across the street from his parents.
He retired.
I know.
Can't your retirements out of the four that you're quoting, unreleased the limit hires? I don't know if that's excessive.
It is excessive when it's every
When they
2 years,
retire.
right? This is just my feeling. Because, I mean, how long, you were former chief of police, how long were you in for?
I was the chief for over 22 years, and
Okay, you're kind of young, you look kind of
He
young.
retired.
Did we need you for?
Steve retired, so many months retired.
well, and I will, absolutely, I retired.
Okay.
A large part of the reason I retired is the mayor, because before he ever took office, he asked for my resignation and every other department head in the city and created what I consider a hostile work environment. As soon as I got my time,
I guess it's safe to say there was philosophical differences?
oh, yes, there are.
Shame.
Okay, look guys, we live in a very, very small city, a tiny city, not a big city, and I realize I'm probably running with you, so I'll cut it off. Let's knock it off. We all need to play we're all playing on the same team. We need to pull the city together and we need to stop this. We really do have to stop this because I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or whatever, I'm gonna back you. I would like to be back on the crime watch, so please. And Pacey's a crime spree on Kathy Drive, I'd like to know. Please. This needs to be answered, this needs to be looked into, this needs to be finished. Please pay off James Smith. God, that's just embarrassing. It's like $10,000. We owe him. It's not going to get seen by anybody else. And then now we're going to have the union coming after us, and that's going to be a pain in the rear. And we're going to pay all this again. It's not going to be good. Let's pay it off. And just remember, I'm not happy with what happened with Rick Myers. And I'm very sorely disappointed because one of the reasons why I fought and argued with that little itsy bitsy lady in 90-degree weather in my garage is because I trusted you. And because I love my city. And I thought my city was going to just stay cohesive and good and straight. And we were a strong city. And we were doing all this stuff together. And now I feel like we've been thrown out on our face. I really do. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
I missed the opportunity to sign.
Come up here and sign up and
Okay, I didn't want anybody else.
I'd like to thank him.